Today, we're jumping right into a story that's unfolding at lightning speed. It's a story about absolutely mind-boggling numbers, massive real-world construction, and a high-stakes chess match that's going to shape all of our futures. We're talking, of course, about the AI gold rush. $30 billion. Just take a second and let that sink in. What do you think that number is? The entire economy of a small country? The budget for a mission to Mars? Nope, it's actually a sign of something moving even faster than all that. You see, what's happening right now isn't just some neat and tidy technological evolution. Oh no, it is a frantic, messy, high-stakes scramble for power, for talent, for a piece of the future. It looks and feels just like one of those old-timey gold rushes. And that number? That's our first clue about the sheer scale of this thing. That's right, $30 billion is the new yearly revenue projection for just one company, Anthropic. And to give you some perspective here, not that long ago, that number was sitting closer to $9 billion. So this isn't just growth, you guys. It's an explosion. And an explosion this big needs a truly massive amount of fuel. This AI boom isn't just happening in the digital ether, in the world of code. To make any of this a reality, these companies are building the 21st century version of mines and railroads. They are laying down a gigantic physical foundation for intelligence itself. It's what people in the industry call the physical layer. We all think of AI as living up in the cloud, but the cloud has a physical address. It's made of millions of square feet of concrete data centers, humming racks of processors, and incredibly complex systems just to keep the lights on and stop the whole thing from literally melting. And check this out. This shows you exactly how Anthropic is fueling that rocket ship. They've inked this huge deal with Google and Broadcom to get their hands on multiple gigawatts of computing power. And they're not just buying chips off the shelf. They're actually co-designing the next generation of processors, custom-built for the complex reasoning their AI needs to do. Things like analysis and real problem solving. And all of that computing, all those gigawatts of electricity humming away, well, it creates another problem that's just as big, a whole lot of heat. And of course, that problem has kicked off its own little gold rush. Take a look at this company, Firmus. Their whole business is cooling and powering AI data centers. They just raised over $500 million, which brings their fundraising total in just the last 6 months to, get this, $1.35 billion. The money isn't just going to the companies making the AI, it's flooding into the companies building the picks and shovels. So with the infrastructure being built at this blinding pace, the big players are all starting to jockey for position. You can think of them all as prospectors in this new territory, but here's the interesting part. They're all using very different maps to find their gold. Let's just compare two of the giants here, Anthropic and OpenAI. They are taking fascinatingly different routes. Anthropic is making a beeline for the commercial market, trying to wire itself directly into the world of business. OpenAI, on the other hand, seems to be playing a longer game, focusing on shaping policy and writing the rules of AI for everyone. I mean, just look at Anthropic's playbook here. It's aggressive, it's direct. They're teaming up with private equity firms to get their AI tools into hundreds of established companies all at once. It's actually a pretty brilliant shortcut to achieve massive scale really, really quickly. And of course, they're raising another $1 billion just to pour more gas on that fire. Now, OpenAI's map, it looks completely different. They're talking about stuff like new taxes to create social safety nets for a world with superintelligence. They're also opening up their doors, bringing outside researchers in to work on safety. It seems like their big bet is that the company that builds the most public trust and shapes the conversation will be the one that wins in the end. Okay, so we've got the miners and we've got the prospectors. But what about the townsfolk? How is this whole gold rush actually affecting us, the humans who are supposedly in the loop? Well, the effects are really complex and, honestly, sometimes just plain weird. This right here is kind of startling. A recent study found that when we humans interact with an AI, most of us, well, we just kind of stop thinking critically. We tend to accept what it says, even when it's making really obvious mistakes. The researchers call it cognitive surrender, and it brings up a huge question. How are we supposed to supervise these incredibly powerful systems if our own brains are so quick to just check out? Which, of course, leads us to the billion-dollar question, or maybe it's the trillion-dollar question that's on everybody's mind. If we're so willing to trust AI, does that mean it's finally coming for our jobs? Well, you might want to take a look at this. The data, at least for right now, tells a pretty surprising story. Even with AI coding tools getting better every single day, job openings for human software engineers have hit a 3-year high. They've basically doubled since the middle of 2023. So, what that tells us is that for now, AI isn't really replacing these skilled workers. It's acting as a force multiplier. It's making good engineers even more productive, which then creates even more demand for their skills. It's augmentation, not replacement, at least for now. But that very idea of augmentation, of an AI learning from human work, creates an entirely new battlefield. And this is a big one. It's a fight over creation versus compensation. In other words, who gets paid for all the data that makes these AI models so smart in the first place? A perfect example of this is what's happening with Suno. Suno is an AI that generates music, and to get good, it needs to train on vast libraries of music made by humans. So the big music labels are saying, okay, fine, but you have to pay up for it. And right now, those talks have completely stalled. The outcome of this one standoff could set the economic rules of the road for every single creative industry in the age of AI. So, after all that, where does this leave us? We've got this tidal wave of money crashing in, a super high stakes race between corporate giants, and a whole bunch of really profound, unanswered questions about our own place in this new world. The future is anything but certain. When you get right down to it, the whole AI boom really boils down to these core tensions. You've got the sheer, massive weight of capital pouring in, funding this physical construction. You have the strategic race between companies that are taking totally different bets on how to win. And then you have all these tangled, complex human questions about our jobs, our creativity, and even the way we think. There's no doubt about it. The AI gold rush is here. The claims are being staked, the fortunes are being made. But the biggest question of all is still on the table, and it's one that all of us have to think about. As we build out this new frontier, are we actually building a fundamentally better world, or are we just building a more automated one?